Chapter 4. The planet Skera was beautiful to Ryuk's eyes, and though he would never admit it, he was thrilled when the Emperor suggested it as a home base. He was worried he would end up on a desert or ice planet. Skera was a mix of a jungle and a tropical oasis, with several medium-sized oceans. Over 50% of the planet was covered in a dense jungle that were home to a variety of plant, insect and animal life, some hostile but most were neutral. Ryuk glided over the treetops, his command temporarily forgotten. If he was in charge of regular Daleks, these moments of solitude would not be permitted, but his Daleks were far from regular. He touched down in a clearing and proceeded to remove the few bits of armour he was wearing. He unclipped his belt that held his sword and set it down on top of the armour by the side of the pool. He looked around to check if any Daleks had followed him, and then removed his undershirt and shorts. He hadn't had a chance to properly bathe in nearly a week due to the foul-up with the power cables, and everyone had to do double shifts to make up time. Ryuk was sure that he had fused with his armour, and that when he came to remove the undershirt, his skin would simply come away with it. Thankfully, this wasn't the case. Now he stood bare as the day he emerged from his gestation pod on Skaro, though with less eyes on him this time. He took a step back and ran towards the pool. As he reached the bank, he did a cannonball into the pool, sending water everywhere. He sank to the bottom and sat there for a few moments. Thanks to Utrell, he could remain underwater for a few minutes, though he had never had the chance to test this in the field. He swam to the surface and rested against the bank. He listened to the sounds of the animals around him. Most were complaining about his less than graceful entrance into the water. He suddenly heard a footstep, but before he could react, he found his blade being held against his throat. He looked up into the eyes of a wolf. The eyes glared back. "What's this? A general caught off his guard?" Willow said. Ryuk looked up at her. Those eyes of hers seemed to burn into his soul. He had never really socialized with anyone except his brother before he was taken to Skaro, but she was the first person he wanted to spend time with. She was intelligent, fierce, and to top it all off, beautiful. His brother had spent a lot of time trying to get him to date, but there was something about human females Ryuk didn't like. They just seemed very plain. Ryuk's arm exploded out of the water and grabbed Willow's shoulder. He unbalanced her and managed to pull her into the water. For a moment he thought he had knocked her unconscious, as she didn't surface straight away. She leapt out of the water back onto the bank. "What's the big deal?" she growled. "I could have cut your throat and you just dragged me into the water." Ryuk joined her on the bank. "That was my blade. It can't cut me. Did you want something, or did you just come down here to admire me?" Willow suddenly clocked Ryuk was standing before her naked. She turned away. "Don't flatter yourself. The only male I have eyes for is my mate, and he is gone." There was a twinge of pain in her voice. Ryuk redressed and began putting on his armour. "My apologies, Lady Willow. I did not mean to upset you." She turned back to him. "There's little you can do to hurt me, General. I saw another ship landing a few days ago. What is happening? Do I need to move further out?" When Ryuk and Willow left the Alliance space, he offered to take her anywhere, but she elected to remain with him, saying she owed him a life debt, and would find a way to repay it. The world of Skera was ideal for her, as she could easily live in the jungle. Where a human would need supplies and a shelter, she could make all of that from whatever was around her. Ryuk kept her informed of his Daleks' movements, and he had designated a safe zone where he promised his Daleks were forbidden from entering. Ryuk and Willow walked side by side. That was a supply ship, and should be the last one for a while. "I'm afraid I have not had a chance to find any planets suitable for you to relocate to." "No rush. I like it here. I can avoid your Daleks easy enough," Willow said, almost gloatingly. "True. But keep in mind they will see you as an intruder, or something to be captured and studied." Willow stopped. Ryuk stopped as well and turned to look at her. "A Dalek's instinct is to kill anything that's different. I'm Dalek enough that they accept me. I thought you understood that." Willow continued walking, her head slightly lowered. "I thought yours were different." Ryuk took a step towards her. "Even unconditioned Daleks are still Daleks. While most of them would report your presence to me, I can think of a couple who would go on the hunt," Ryuk said. Of the few Daleks, the new guy Snidge was at the top of his thoughts, though he really wasn't one of his Daleks. "You are an interesting contradiction, General. A warrior, and someone who values life. This is even more of a contradiction given your Dalek nature," Willow said. Ryuk was about to respond when his communicator chimed. He tapped the control on his gauntlet. "Speak." There was a pause. "General, we have an emergency situation." Ryuk looked at Willow and then spread his wings, and with a burst of his thrusters took flight. Willow sighed and headed off into the jungle. Supreme Dalek Garen glided into the throne room. He stopped just before the Emperor.
"Emperor, report from Sub-Agent 049.
The Emperor turned his bulbous dome to face his Supreme.
He reports that he has integrated himself into Conquest Army Zero and has already gathered some disturbing information regarding the activities of the Hybrid General and his Daleks.
Continue,
the Emperor bellowed. Suddenly, Garin felt a twinge of fear. His Emperor was usually eager to hear the reports from his agents, but had been resistant to the idea of one being sent to Skera.
He reports the Daleks are engaged in a number of activities that are contradictory to efficiency and productivity.
Yet these are not normal Daleks. We have to expect some deviation. Is there anything else?
Yes, he reports he was discovered by a Zero Dalek making this report and was forced to destroy him.
The Emperor stirred.
Then his fate is sealed.
Garin did a double take.
Sealed? Emperor, I do not understand.
He has destroyed one of Ryuk's Daleks. While he may still be concealed, both Ryuk and the Daleks of his command will not rest until they have avenged their fallen comrade.
Garin considered the Emperor's words. If the death of one Dalek could destabilize Ryuk to the point where he would make mistakes, this was the chance Garin was waiting for to rid the Empire of this mistake and not be seen to oppose the Emperor openly. He looked up at the Emperor.
I will instruct the agent to proceed with care.